Welcome to Threads of Enlightenment. This evening we have a gentleman that has been trying for a little while to get in touch with me, and he's been very patient with me because I've been enduring some type troubles with my travelings and so forth. But I wanted to introduce you guys to Karl. I want Karl to tell us a little about who he is, the projects that he is doing, and then we will get to know him on a deeper level for him to guide us on some of the principles that he used to walk him through to bring him to his place to where he is today. He has some excellent projects. I know he is one of, he talks about the Lightworkers and what it means to be spiritually minded and so forth. But I want him to come in and tell his story so that you and I can grow and learn together from Karl and gain some wisdom. Karl, are you there?
Yes, I'm from originally from Pretoria, South Africa. Grew up in the 60s, 70s there under apartheid years. I then spent a lot of time in mainly London, UK, and also Dublin, Ireland, and I'm currently in Dublin, Ireland. I invested in property. I was an accountant in the property industry. They call it, in the Commonwealth countries, they call it a chartered quantity surveyor. And I went from there, invested in property. And in the August 2007 subprime crisis, I lost everything in Dublin, Ireland. I invested heavily in property. And property values after the subprime crisis went down between 50 and 80% in Ireland. And then I owed the bank €2 million and I couldn't invest anymore. So that woke me up. At the same time, my daughter was diagnosed with dyslexia and she was taken out of the class. And I said to my then wife, we've got to get her back into the class because I'm dyslexic. I knew how that would, my view was that kids would think she's stupid. And then I started researching that. And I didn't know I was going to write a book. I researched for 6 months, got a method to really help my daughter. She was back in classroom in 3 months. That then, 2-3 events in Dublin, people asked for notes, and the notes was the start of my book. Mm-hmm. Then, because in dyslexic studies, they take people off lactose in milk and glutens in grain and stuff, and they improve through functional test. I discovered nutrition. So that was another 6 months. I decided to then write that up and publish. That was actually my first book published. And that gave me then confidence to go for the big one, which was Uncovering the Mystery of the Universe, which was my book, The Universe Code. And that took me 7 years of running around the world, figuring things out.
Oh, that's such a journey. How old was your daughter when she was diagnosed with dyslexia?
This was in 2009, and she was 9.
Oh, wow. I know from reading some of your paperwork, I saw that you described dyslexia as a gift. Explain to the people a little about your perception of that, because you as having the same and your daughter, how do you perceive it as a gift versus something that is not?
Yes, the very early on in my studies, I found out that a dyslexic person mainly used the right side of the brain. So Sally Sayworth from Yale University in New York have shown they put dyslexic people down a fMRI tunnel, and they discovered they mainly use the right side of the brain. It's the most advanced studies in that field. And a non-dyslexic person used the left side of the brain. So about 10-15% of the world's population is dyslexic. And so the left side of the brain is the sequential side, and that's good for the educational system, for A's and B's on exam papers. Mm-hmm. But a dyslexic person, Caspay's Business School in the UK discovered that dyslexic people are 4 times more likely to be innovators than non-dyslexic people. So wow. Dyslexic people use the right side, creative brain. At the same time, on chapter 9 of my book, The Dyslexia Code, I give all the names of famous past and present dyslexic people. And it's amazing names. 4 US presidents, Muhammad Ali. The name just goes on and on. And wow. So what's currently happening, dyslexia associations are taking away the gift of dyslexia. They use traditional products to make a dyslexic person use the left side of the brain. They just hammer more words into a dyslexic person that's already tired after a day at school. And they start after, Sally say with fMRI studies show that after a year, they start using the left side of the brain. So they're making dyslexic people sequential. Where Einstein, the most famous person, he was terrible at school.
Mm-hmm.
And we need more Einsteins.
I
So
agree.
that is the biggest thing I discovered. And I know I'm the first that sort of, I don't know of anyone else that discovered that. So my main drive for dyslexia is to let dyslexic people, and especially their parents, understand, don't make a dyslexic person sequential. Keep them and give them a tool, a fun tool of building clay shapes and stuff like that, the Davis's method, to assist them.
That's really, really interesting material that you've acquired. And so now this led you to the other aspects of your life. You had mentioned earlier in the conversation that it led you to dealing with gaining a better insight into the health of our bodies. How did that correlate with the dyslexia? I apologize. How did that correlate into this whole
No,
aspect as you moved on?
actually, the three topics are not interlinked, dyslexia,
Mm-hmm.
health, and world peace, Universe Code Book. But because I found out in dyslexic studies how taking people off lactose and glutens help dyslexic people, and it's all about the brain,
Yeah.
because these things pass the blood-brain barrier. I took an interest in it, so there was no real correlation. And then when I took an interest in it, because I started with a clean slate,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked the creator, I had 50 affirmations per day for information,
Wow.
and things came through synchronistically. And then I also used the right brain dyslexia gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered that we eat all the right food. Now, I come from Pretoria, South Africa, that you eat meat, dairy, and eggs in copious amounts. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
white South Africans, which I am, Afrikaners, take biltong, which is dried meat, to rugby games. So it must be one of the highest percentage of any nation using. In fact, Afrikaners have got the highest cholesterol level of any nation in the world.
Wow.
But then I discovered it's meat, dairy, and eggs plus pesticides that
Mm-hmm.
cause all disease. You're going to say, wow, and Gareth Edwards, the foremost PhD nutritionist, agrees with me that it's your genes that dictate what disease you get. But the cause of all disease is meat, dairy, eggs, and pesticide. And then the way to fix it is to go vegan and 70% organic. So
Mm-hmm.
vegan is a new name for vegan plus fish. So pescatarian is vegetarian fish. Vegan is vegan plus fish. And then I now go 70% organic. It's very difficult to go 100%. I go to cheap places in the UK and Ireland. One of the cheapest supermarket is IKEA. Not IKEA, that's a furniture place. Is Little, and
Mm-hmm.
they now sell quite a few organic things, fruit and vegetables, and then fish. You can turn fish from the sea or from a river, not farmed. You can buy really cheaply, or
Yeah.
frozen as well. So it's very, and I've now got a program. I've tried to convince universities for 10 years to do a study on this, and twice I got very successful, one with the Dublin University and once with the London University. But then they go quiet, and I know they discover that the drug companies really fund the universities. So I've now started my own
Yeah.
thing on
Mm-hmm.
Google Ads. I place an ad, and I get one download per day, mainly from
Okay.
South Africa, interesting enough. I target UK, Ireland, US, and South Africa. And I've now got this program, the House Spring Asthma Support Program, because I reversed my asthma within 9 months flat. And that's
Wow.
how I want to start to bring this to the world, that
Okay.
it's food that causes disease.
I know my background is healthcare, and I know, and in my studies, especially in when you look in the Western civilization, you see that the majority of the onset of diseases came when we began to process our foods, and with all the chemicals from the processed foods, and how it, as you say, it ignites and causes quite a few of the diseases that currently have today. In my travels, I know that I travel around from time to time because when you go into some of the countries that we are considered, we would call them third world countries. One of the first things I would find is a local farmers market type thing, and get to the closer to the food, as you say, Karl. Because I'm from British Guiana, South America, and I grew up on a farm. Most of the food that we got from the farm. We had cows and goats and all the other things, and so I did not, as far as anyone in my family, I couldn't remember any of us getting sick until when we came to the United States of America. Even a pimple, we didn't have any of those type things. But when we began to change our eating habits, a lot of the things that started manifesting within ourselves. And so I get it when you talk about the type of food that we eat, and it's so prevalent today in today's society.
Yeah, I've got a website called, so interested, if anyone listeners interested, for dyslexia, I've got a website called icd.world. So it stands for International Celebration Dyslexia.world, icd.world. For our health discussion, the website is LLL three L's, and now.info. And it stands for Let's Live Longer Now. And in there, I explain how pH in the body works.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's interesting that you say that you had, cattle, so you're eating beef and dairy and stuff like that, and you didn't get disease. I believe, what that then means is in a lot of the meat and dairy, they've got a lot of steroids and all kind of funny
Yeah.
things. But I do believe you can, the Hunza cuts that I studied in northern Pakistan until the 1960s, they lived disease-free. Their average age they lived is 120. So
Wow.
not only can you live disease-free, but we can live much,
Longer.
much longer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fascinating reading. We can discuss starting pH in the body because you've got healthcare, but then we're going to spend at least 10 minutes on it.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely fascinating how meat, dairy, and eggs cause issues in the body because of pH.
I absolutely agree with you. When I say we eat closer, we most of the food that we ate was back then was from vegetables and that type of thing. The meat was that was a big celebration. Maybe once in a year we would dispatch of a cow or something like that, and we would hand it out to the neighbors, and we would keep some, of course. But as a child, I ate most of the food we ate. And if we ate meat, Carl, it was always, we would cut it up small pieces that will feed an entire family. I didn't know about steak, where an individual, would sit down and eat a steak until I came to the United States. And I almost, as a young boy, I was so floored to see that, because we never did anything like that. So it was really interesting. But I wanted also to get a chance for you to talk about the other parts of, as you begin to grow and expand your, as you say, your knowledge, because I got a chance to read some of your things, and it is really fascinating, some of the insights that you have. And I wanted you to just embellish a little more on some of the aspects, as you call it, the main thing, where you got your confidence strong enough for you to do the main thing, as you call it. Talk to us about that main thing.
Well, the main thing is uncovering the mystery universe and thereafter tell the world. So this is my 7 years research for
Mm-hmm.
my book, The Universe Code. As I mentioned, I lost everything. I then got the confidence through the dyslexia research and the Hellspring Code book research. But even before that, right at the start, I went to an event of a guy called John DeMartini, an American guy. And I went to Houston, Texas, and he's got a 3-day event called Master Planning for Life,
Mm-hmm.
where we sat for 3 days with, say, 200 people, laptops, and you answer 2,000 questions.
Wow.
And only like 1%, 3% of people plan their business plans. Only 1% plan their lives. I'm not talking just their business. I'm trying to plan your life. So I've got a master plan for life, and and just I'm interested, of that 1 or 3%, it's something statistic like it's something like 90% of success is that 1 to 3%. So planning things and writing it down and putting it into the ether is really critical. But during that event, I then started writing down what I want to achieve. And the most important thing I wanted to achieve is to uncover the mystery universe and thereafter tell the world. And that was in January 2011. And by 2017, I achieved it. So at that stage, I had no clue even what the question really meant, because it came through sort of nearly spiritually, just through the keyboard kind of thing. And I achieved it in 2017, and that is part of my book, The Universe Code.
Now, talk to us about the Universe Code, so that we would get a chance to understand some of that insight that you gained. Open to us that Universe Code that you found.
So the Universe Code is just the name of my book. My other two books are the Dyslexia Code and the Health Spring Code. So that on its own doesn't mean much, but it's my main drive, as I mentioned, was to uncover the mystery universe and thereafter tell the world. But the other thing that's important is world peace. So I've actually came out of it, even nearly more important than uncovering mystery universe, is world peace. So I studied mainly the 5 main religions that make up 80% of humanity. So Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and discovered there can only be one creator. And so I believe in evolution. So you've got the Big Bang, and then you've got the fluffy matters. And just out of interest sake, in my research, I had 500,000 words when I finished the 7 years, and then I took a lot of stuff out. And 2/3 of the things left came from the spirit world. And it's things that made sense. So a lot of the things you'll never be able to prove, but it makes total sense. And so, yes, you've got the Big Bang. That's then into fluffy matter. Then that's the start of the mineral kingdom, then the plant kingdom, and then the animal kingdom. And so I believe in evolution. And if you believe in evolution, you cannot have more than one creator. There can only be one creator for us humans on Earth. So we've got all these fights between centuries, millennia, between all these 5 main religions. But yet there can only be one creator, one Allah. And I'm a Christian, just for interest sake. And what I then discovered, and what I now believe, is first of all, the 5 main religions need to relax. And once that happens, then we can have world peace. And I believe world peace is possible in our lifetime. I honestly believe it. And that's my main mission. But what I discovered is there's a lot of untruths mainly in Judaism, Christianity. In Hinduism and Buddhism, there's not much. There's a little bit of misunderstanding on a few things, but it's mainly Judaism and Christianity. And then the problem with Islam is not that there's an issue with the Quran. The Quran in its Arabic format is pure as you can get. In fact, there's 3 reasons why the Creator, via Angel Gabriel and then Prophet Muhammad, communicated the Quran. And that is to correct the mistakes that the Jewish and Christians made, scholars in the Old and New Testament. They purposefully made mistakes. And the second reason for the Quran is it's a scientific document, incredibly scientific. They're finding things out now. It was communicated 600 years after Christ, roughly. And they're finding things in the Quran, science things that are just unbelievable, even now in the last 50 years and stuff. And lastly, it's poetry. The Quran. So Islamics say to me that if they read the Quran, it's unbelievable in Arabic format. But the problem is it's the translation into English and other languages from Arabic into Quran. That's the problem. And the interpretation. So there's now 73 different Muslim sects, and of which Sunni and Shia is obviously the 2 main ones, but they all got different interpretations. So the Creator via Angel Gabriel and Prophet Muhammad correct the mistakes of the Old and New Testament that was removed. And as soon as Prophet Muhammad dies, Muslims make the same mistake. It's human error. They're starting to misinterpret the Quran. And that's why, look at Afghanistan now. There's more issues between Shia and Sunnis than there is actually between Islam. I'm not talking about ISIS now or Al-Qaeda. I'm talking about normal 97% of Muslims. There's more issues internally between the 73 different sects than with the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's those untruths that I'm trying to expose. And it's very difficult because it's hard for people to understand that something they've believed in their whole life is suddenly being said to be untrue. But I know you have to get to the truth because the truth will set us free.
Well, the Bible there's a verse in the Bible that says that the traditions of men will make the word of God to none effect. And so, in my Christian bringing up, we were told that the word of God is the most powerful things there. But when I read that scripture, it tells us that there's something even more powerful, the traditions of men. And when you come to someone to try and unhook them from that tradition, I'm sure that's where you'll get a lot of opposition because, mom believed this, dad, my grandfather, my great grandfather, and whoever else. And so I find that that truth, that principle is so potent when you're trying to have a conversation like what you're saying, when you are bringing the truth to now unhook them from the traditions. And that's the battle, I think, in many cases, because people sometimes are afraid of the truth. I don't know if they're afraid, Karl, or just they don't want to know. I don't know sometimes.
Yeah, it's difficult to know what, but it's daunting task, but it's a huge opportunity. So Angel Cryon, Kryon, which is one of angels that's been communicated with 9 individuals for the last 25 years, and I use information from Lee Carroll in the States. Angel Cryon says that the reason why the World Wide Web was only discovered now is so that we can now get the truth out there. So, in Jesus' time, how difficult would it have been to get the truth out there because he's very local. But now, anyone sitting with a laptop as we're speaking now can get out information out there. So that's the one big plus we've got. And then I believe in the butterfly effect. And again, it's also Angel Cryon says that we only need to wake up 0.5% of humanity. So out of the 8 billion people, we only need to wake up 4 million people.
Mm-hmm.
And because the quantum world, the spirit world, has got different laws. And out of the 4 million, you only need the 144,000. So that comes up in a lot of scriptures. That the main the light surfers. I've coined the term the light surfers, but the light workers is the original term. Mm-hmm. And so actually, because of the it's dyslexia and health and world peace are all daunting issues because there's a mistake and it's very difficult to correct the mistake because most people believe the opposite. But actually, if we can get that information out, we can reverse things very quickly. So it's a huge opportunity. It's a brilliant opportunity.
So you're because I know I went to your website, the Light Surfers, and you mentioned briefly about that. Can you go in a little more, expound a little to educate our listeners as to precisely who these people are and what their assignment is to do?
If you say, I'm not sure what you're asking. From my book, The Universe Code, I picked sort of 4 topics. That's the main topics from the book. It's a very long book and amazing information in there. But and I could quickly go through a few of those topics and sort of just spend a minute or 2 on each.
Yeah, that's perfect.
To point out the main. Yeah. Okay. So to start with the first one, Creator versus God. The angel Margaret, this is through a guy called Gavin, I forget his surname for a second. But in any case, Angel Margaret uses analogy, and this same analogy I discovered on speaking to other people that speak to the spirit world. This says, what is the Creator? The Creator is the following. We, humans, are the computer, so the normal laptop computer. The angels are the servers, so the stronger computers, and the Creator is the mainframe computer. So humans plus the angels together is the Creator. And the Uncovering Mystery Universe is where I research strings in string theory, where the smallest part of an atom is just made up of strings. The smallest part. And I asked the Creator, because I can communicate now. I was taught at the College of Psychic Studies in London how to communicate the spirit world, and I communicate with the creator by automatic writing. And I ask, is a string theory, which is just, that's why they always talk about vibration. You know, if you go back to Hinduism, or they always talk, it's all about vibrational energy. It's just these strings vibrating, whether it's you, whether it's the air around you, whatever. So we all interconnected. And I asked the creator, is the string in string theory the same as the God particle they found in CERN? You know, this collider between France and Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
And it should really be called the greater particle. And the creator said yes. So was the uncovering mysteries. And because we're just made up of strings, we all interconnected. And that's why if anyone's got a thought, or a group has got a thought through prayer, they can influence the world, because we are all interconnected. And that's why bad words are so terrible as well. That's why we need to use words carefully. So in any case, that's the creator. The creator is just all the strings put together. It's creation according to the spirit world. The God of the Old and New Testament are our forefathers, called the Pleiadians. I never know how to pronounce it. They're a million years more advanced than us, spiritually, physically, and technology. And they come to Earth via UFOs. The Pentagon have now twice confirmed that, and they've got the pictures of the UFOs. But the world powers to be don't want that to be released, because it means that they're not in control of Earth. It means there's someone else. So the gods of the Old Testament is, so about 12,000 years before Christ, it was Ipswich. 9,000 years, because they live much longer. 9,000 years before Christ, it was Jehovah, and currently it's El. So El is the God, but people like us, they are forefathers. And the ruler of the Pleiadians currently is El. So that is what God is. Highly scientific. Our forefathers, they're a little bit bigger than us. They're not these little green men that they confuse things with. So there's a big distinction between the creator and God. Allah is the creator, and all five main religions and other religions is the creator. We're all part of creation. But the Old and New Testament is the gods of the Pleiadians. And until that facts and information go through, we cannot have world peace. And that's going to start coming out. Governments will start releasing information about UFOs. So before I carry on to the next topic, any comments?
I know I read an article I think it was about a month or two ago, about the release of information concerning UFOs with the United States government due to a couple of incidents that happened recently. So this is very interesting to see the correlation as to what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, it's in the Old and New Testament about 30 times. It's talked about spinning wheels and chariots
wheel
of
within
fire.
a wheel and so forth.
It's in different communities. In South Africa is different societies. In South Africa, the native Southern African natives talked about people with watches on. The Chinese talk about the dragon from the sky. It's all there. It's 100% the fact. It's just been denied mainly by the US because, as I mentioned, they're scared that that they're supposed to be in charge, but yet they're not. But that's all going to come out now. There was a big report in, I think, in July in the US, and they just put it under the carpet because a lot of senators were saying, yes, the footage the Pentagon's got of these UFOs, it's 100% there, but they know a lot more about it. Okay, the next topic is Jesus in India. So I'm a Christian, and this is the hardest one to discuss because of Christians. And I've got friends in South Africa, Pretoria, South Africa, that when I discuss this, they don't want to discuss it any further. So I know how hard it is, and there's no bad intent in what I'm going to mention now. But in my research, I discovered that Jesus was in India between the age of 13 and 29. In the Bible, there's only one long paragraph about where he was, and he gained wisdoms. And where he gained wisdom, he was taught firstly by the Hindu scholars and then by the Buddhist scholars. And there's a scroll called the Life of Saint Isa, ISSA, which is they call Jesus Isa, and different people have seen that scroll and written books about it. And there's a great YouTube clip that's now gone viral. It's only end of last year, and it's now got over a million views, called Jesus in India, Tibet, and something else, Persia or something. But if you put in Jesus Tibet, you must probably see it. And it's that scroll, it's that information on it. Now, I've been trying to get in contact with the Dalai Lama. He's now sort of retired, but it is very difficult because that scroll needs to be carbon dated and released to the world. Then the bigger one, and I can't go into a lot of detail because of time now, obviously, but the bigger one, the hardest one to accept for Christians, is that Jesus didn't die on the cross. So the document that records that is the Talmud of Gamaliel, and the Bedeans told Billy Meyer, a guy that's early 80s now from Switzerland, in 63 where to find it. And it was in a grave, which was Jesus' true grave in Jerusalem, and that document needs to be carbon dated and released. And I believe in my lifetime it will. The Billy Meyer's group, so Billy Meyer's Billy, and then Meyer's Meier, they say it's been destroyed, but they will say that. The Greater tells me it's not destroyed. Now, what the Talmud of Gamaliel says is, and it correlates with my research, I'll mention it how, is Jesus, there was a secret, and Jesus didn't die on the cross. That's the first thing. So the Quran is very clear on that Jesus didn't die on the cross. And then he went to this grave, which had a secret back entrance, and they healed Jesus, and he left before the third day, the back entrance. When the soldiers of the authorities rolled down the stone and saw he was gone, they ran back to authorities, and the authorities said, just tell them I went up to heaven. Jesus then went to Damascus. So on the road to Damascus, which was north, Saul and so on saw him. They didn't see a spirit, they saw him, but they thought they saw a spirit because Jesus didn't want to be crucified again. So he just wanted to get away. So Jesus, his mother Mary, his brother Thomas, and Judas Iscariot, there's a mistake in the New Testament, Judas Iscariot, but in any case, they were in Damascus for 2 years, and then they traveled east. And on the way, 80 kilometers from Srinagar in Kashmir, Mary died, Mother Mary, and there's a town around where she was buried called Murree, Murree. And then Jesus was in Kashmir. He had 3 kids, 3 sons, and he died at the age of 115, according to the scroll, the Talmud of Gamaliel. And there's a lot to be found out about that. Well, I can start discussing other things now, but I can't. So that is critical because for the first reason is Muslims believe in the Old and New Testament scholars. So if it's understood that Jesus was taught by Hindu and Buddhist scholars, it will bring Muslims, Hindus, and Buddhists together. Obviously, Jews and Christians believe in Moses was also outside Srinagar. I saw his shrine; it's physically there. So not only was Jesus there, so this is why Kashmir, which is heaven on earth, is the most disputed place on earth, even more so than Israel, because all 5 main religions have been there. And it's the place where world peace will start, is actually Kashmir. Mm-hmm. And so then Jews, if they understand that Moses was in Kashmir, and then obviously Christians, if they understand that Jesus was taught by Hindus and Muslims and Buddhists, that is the start of true world peace. So a lot of documents need to be released, be carbon dated, but this truth, it's all out there. For 7 years I went around researching it, and when I research, I go crazy, and it's all there. And unfortunately, and that's the only way we're going to pull all 5 main religions together, the truth.
So do you have like a timeline you think that this would begin to happen, in the sense that where the information would be brought to the masses, so that all of us will get a chance to see that? Because you'd mentioned that
well, I could ask
the
creator, but if I ask the creator via automatic writing questions, the creator doesn't always give me actual answers. Mm-hmm. It's sort of practical answers. So they won't give me a timeline. And the reason is, one of the Kabbalistic secrets, Kabbalah.com secrets, is that we need to earn our own way. In fact, that's why the Bedains stopped coming 8,000 years before Christ. They stopped coming to Earth with UFOs because people saw them as gods, and we need to earn our own way. We need to get to Mars on our own. That's the only way you can expand the universe. So on the timeline, I can't get a straight answer, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
All I can do is what I'm doing in a very small way, and believe in the butterfly effect. I just want to mention the third and last item. There's 4 topics, but I'll only mention the third one, and that's reincarnation. So reincarnation was taken out of the Old Testament. The document proves that is the Zohar, Zohar, from Kabbalah.com, and it was communicated about 100 to 200 years after Christ to a guy in Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai in Jerusalem, in Israel. And it's all about reincarnation. And then the Talmud of Gamaliel shows how reincarnation, the Talmud of Gamaliel is really the true New Testament, and it's all about reincarnation. Now, that document needs to be carbon dated. Obviously, Hinduism and Buddhism is all about reincarnation. And then the Muslims have just never looked and never discovered, as there's more and more things being discovered in the Quran. They've never looked for reincarnation. All they need to go is to a browser and they'll see reincarnation is in the Quran. So why is reincarnation so important? Until the reasons the scholars changed the Old and New Testament is because when people understand reincarnation, then there's no reason really for a minister or priest, because if they understand the cycle of reincarnation, everything becomes understandable. And, if anyone had to go to my website, lightsurfers.me, lightsurfers.me, I've got 12 topics, and the one topic is on reincarnation. And for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I've got different podcasts I interviewed by people that explain the whole process. And we need to understand the process of reincarnation, because when people understand that, then they will not fear death, and they will start seeing, yes, but there's a mistake, the truths were taken out.
Wow, this is a lot for us all to take in, Karl. I know the light surfers, and I like in reading your bio and some of your background, there's a sentence that you have or a saying that I really, really like, and I thought it'd be great to let the people, I wanted to read it to them. It says, "You may have heard the term light worker, meaning a spiritual-minded individual who is drawn towards helping the whole of humanity raise its consciousness and bring about a better, more harmonious world." And it sounds like that's what you're trying to create in some aspects, is that once we all of the information is released, and that it becomes known to the masses, that then we will be able to become as more of light workers and spiritually minded individuals heading towards that world peace. And you believe that it can happen in your lifetime.
Yes. So, the main thing from this discussion is that if anyone can become a light surfer, that's the way the butterfly effect can enhance everything. Become a light worker, take this information, and let's get world peace. There's just something I just want to end on that I don't want to forget, is, which sort of popped in my mind while you were talking, is, the Creator gave us free will. That's the Creator actually, made the angels first and then us, and then put the humans in charge of even the angels, and gave us total free will. And it's up to us, humanity, to make the world a better place. And a lot of people say, well, why do the Creator, they say God, but they actually mean the Creator, make, they pray, but the Creator hasn't made it good. The Creator gave us this amazing gift, this free will gift, and it's up to us 100% to make the world a better place, not the Creator. And so we need to get this information out there. We need to make the world a better place. It's the gift the Creator gave us.
I really appreciate you coming on the show, Karl. I really do, because I have one of my beliefs is that there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about loving your neighbor as yourself, and I think that principle is that, as you say, world peace is that when we get to that place where we can love each other as we love ourselves, and I believe a lot of the world's problem is because that person don't love themselves and how unique they are as individuals on this planet. And I always say to people that there are industries that are out there that's based on how unique we are. And those are having your fingerprints, your all the other different industries that are there, based on the fact that how we are individual and that we have to learn how to love and respect ourselves, and then we can do this. And by this, I believe it will help us onto that path of where we become peace and as a group of people on this planet Earth. But it is our responsibility to begin to take that journey and accomplish some of the things Karl was talking about. I really appreciate you, sir, and I thank you for coming to Threads of Enlightenment and telling us your story, giving us some insight into how you got from A to B, and what all the other information that is out there. Hopefully, that some of my listeners would go out and start looking, as we have the internet now. As Karl had said, that it was given to us so that we can have access to the information that is needed to help us to get to that place where we would have world peace. Again, I thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Ken.
Everyone who's listening to this broadcast, we hope to continually help you to learn how to embrace moments of darkness, because it is in the darkness that we learn how to develop and use our abilities to truly see those parts of ourselves, often invisible to us, in the light. It becomes your responsibility to navigate through all of your trials, to find out who you truly are and begin your journey to loving yourself, which is possibly one of the most difficult things you will ever do in your life. To love yourself and to find the real you, but always remember to enjoy the journey. Thank you for coming by. Please subscribe, and if you can support us financially, we deeply appreciate it.